Our team will be evaluating the organization of Grant R. Brimmel Library's Children's Picture Book Collection. Children's book collections can be organized in many different ways, and we aim to decide on a system that is the most effective and user-friendly for the library's users. For this project, we split up each section to work on ourselves, compiled it into a shared Google Doc, and reviewed the entire thing before submitting each stage. Jenna acted as our project manager and kept us all up to date with the assignment deadlines. In this chart, I have listed each of our tasks for stage 1 and 2. Jenna chose which of Merton's 3 types of evaluation our project falls under and the library to model the project on. She also created our cues, concepts, and the measures. I worked on ethical issues and project management and described our stakeholders. Abby worked on the logic model and the data side of the project. Paja worked on what we are evaluating, or the goals, and the evaluand research. And for this presentation, we each chose to talk about our tasks we did in the previous steps for this project.
Hey all, this is Jenna speaking, and I'm going to be going over a brief introduction to our project, along with the specifics of our research question. So, for our project, we decided to focus on a Merton's Type 2 evaluation. For this type of evaluation, one researches and evaluates programs or services already in place, and how they might be improved. Our group specifically intends to focus on the Thousand Oaks Library, and how we might improve the physical organization system of the children's picture book section. The first phase of our assessment will focus on a lot of behind-the-scenes work and research from the library staff. The staff participating in this segment will include children's librarians, librarians involved in shelving, materials management, and the technical staff. For Phase 2, we will begin the data collection portion of the project by implementing a variety of different organization systems in a designated section, with each system being set in place for 4 months at a time. In this phase, the participants will extend to now include library patrons, specifically parents and caregivers, children, and educators. For Phase 3, we will reflect and evaluate the data retrieved from Phase 2. And then for Phase 4, we will once again request the assistance of the library staff so that we might implement the organization system that resulted in the highest degree of findability and circulation. The research question that we expect to answer with our study is, how can we improve the physical organization system of children's picture books to increase findability and circulation while maintaining its feasibility to the Grant R. Brimmel branch of the Thousand Oaks Library and its staff? The core theoretical concept in this question is the idea of findability. In this particular instance, we are defining findability as the ease with which information a person is seeking can be found. To further refine our definition, the operational definition will be how often a patron seeking a children's book is able to find what they're looking for, either through browsing or active searching. To measure how findable the various systems of organization are, we intend to document how often children's picture books are circulated, along with the regularity that books from each system are left out on library tables, which would indicate that they have been read or at the very least looked at in-house. In addition to this, we will use conversation circles along with written, digital, and verbal surveys so that we might better adapt our system based on patron feedback to provide the best user experience possible.
Hello, my name is Paja, and I'll be talking about the inputs, activities, and outcomes to our research study. But first, I wanted to provide a little background information on Thousand Oaks Library System. Like we mentioned earlier, we'll be studying the youth organizational system of Grant R. Brimmel Library and their children's picture book collection. The library is located in Ventura County, Southern California. There is a smaller branch, Newberry Park Library. Here are some statistics if you're interested in learning more about the community. I want to point out the circulation rate of children's literature, and it's declined since 2014. We hope that reorganization of their children's picture book collection will improve circulation rates. There will be 3 trial periods with 3 different organizational systems we'll be testing. We'll only select a small sample size of children's picture book at random to be a part of the research. There This sample will have pink dots on its spine to let staff know that's part of the research and to let shelvers know where to put them back on the shelf. From January to April, this sample will be categorized by the author's last name. From May to August, it will be categorized by age groups. From September to December, it will be categorized by subject or topic. Inputs. Necessary information and support we need before the data collecting begin. We'll need support of library administration and board, library staff time, computers to produce surveys, interviews, and store our data. We'll need evaluation supplies and access to their cataloging site along with their children's library space. Activities. So this will happen during the data collecting trial periods. We'll examine literature practice reviews of different organizational systems in libraries of a similar size. We'll design and conduct patron surveys and interview questions for only library staff during each trial period. And we'll consciously seek patron observation. All of the data we collect will be stored into a database. We'll compile and reflect on the findings. And once all trial periods are complete, we'll analyze the findings for trends. After we convene with appropriate stakeholders to discuss the information, we will implement the best changes at Grant R. Brimhall Library. We'll develop and perform ongoing evaluation of the new organizational system. Short-term outcomes. Have a greater understanding of youth organizational practices, greater understanding of the bookfinding behavior. Grant R. Brimhall Library will use the research to plan new organizational system for their children's picture book collection. Medium-term goals. The library will implement the most user-friendly youth organizational system for their children's picture book collection, and the changes will be adapted at Newbury Park Library as well. Caregivers and children are more successful in navigating picture books. Patrons will feel more connected and invested in Thousand Oaks Library after the research. Staff will develop deep knowledge of their picture book collection, and circulation rates of children's picture book will increase. We'll all develop a greater understanding of non-circulating picture books and how to improve circulation rates. Long-term goals. 3 or more years from now, we hope staff establish regular intervals for ongoing evaluation of patron engagement with picture books. Inquire patron feedback. Staff refine a process for assigning organizational categories to new materials. Staff will offer knowledge and insight to other libraries. Staff maintains a circulating and up-to-date collection, and ultimately, picture book collection circulation rates will remain above pre-research levels, and the new youth organizational system will remain user-friendly.
We have listed our stakeholders according to Mertens and Wilson. The first group of stakeholders are people who have decision-making authority over the program. In this case, these stakeholders would be the library board, the head children's librarian, and the library director. The roles for these stakeholders will be to research organizational systems for children's picture books, to decide what data to collect, to survey the community to see which system they like best, and to evaluate the project. The second group of stakeholders are people who have direct responsibility for the program. This would be the children's head librarian and the staff directly under the head children's librarian, including the shelvers. Their roles will be to manage the project, divide tasks up between staff members, collect data on organizational systems that the staff and shelvers prefer. The third group of stakeholders is people who are intended beneficiaries of the program. The library patrons using the collection and the community fall under this category. Their roles will be to complete surveys on which organizational system they would prefer and give staff feedback. The fourth and last stakeholder group is people disadvantaged by the program, as in lost funding opportunities. English language learners, non-reading adults or caregivers, and pre-reading kids fall into this group for this project. The project aims to make sure that fewer people are disadvantaged in their search for children's books by hopefully making the collections easier to navigate.
Hi, this is Abby Ryan, and I'll be giving a brief overview of our data collection and analysis plan. This plan actually turned out to be more complex than we originally thought, because we wanted to reach out to as many stakeholders as possible to incorporate the different perspectives they each bring to this project. For our data collection, we're focused on two groups of stakeholders that Pascal discussed, those with direct responsibility for the program and the intended beneficiaries of the program, or more specifically, the 5 separate audiences listed here. You'll notice the asterisks by the last 2 audiences, caregivers, educators, and kids. A note on that, we expect that these 2 audiences also include some of the stakeholders we identified as those who may be disadvantaged if not involved in this project. English language learners, non-reading adults or caregivers, and pre-reading kids. In fact, working to reach pre-readers and otherwise underserved community members was the main reason our project group came together to work on this topic. I realized the previous slide didn't clarify whether we were collecting quantitative or qualitative data. The answer is actually both. 2 main sources of quantitative data will be picture book circulation statistics and in-house use statistics, both of which measure use or books that, quote, have been found. Portions of our user experience and staff surveys will also yield quantitative data. Because we are measuring findability, a latent content characteristic that cannot be measured directly and can be interpreted differently depending on the person seeking, we will also collect qualitative data from open patron and staff survey questions, as well as patron observation completed by staff. You'll notice we're using several different methods of data collection, mostly including statistics gathering, survey, and observation. While I couldn't find any published studies or academic articles with their survey instruments and research practices completely intact, this is a prevalent topic in library communities of practice, so I was able to make inferences about how we could structure our surveys from information included in professional presentations on this topic, such as the 2 images on the left here. I find the middle image from New York's Ethical Cultural School especially interesting because it represents connecting directly with the child users of the library. And fun fact, this is an example of the feedback that helped develop the Metis cataloging system used by some school libraries. The survey on the far right recently landed in my own inbox through a listserv I subscribed to, which certainly underscores the timeliness of our topic. We also have chosen to survey youth services staff at other libraries to find out how they organize their picture books. This information gathering stage will be non-probability sampling through email listservs and especially targeting libraries in our general Thousand Oaks area, libraries of our similar size throughout the country, and libraries that have adapted innovative organization for their picture books from around the country. I want to note that I say surveys a lot here, although all of our questions could also work in verbal interviews, especially for reasons of accessibility. In addition, the questions for Thousand Oaks Library staff, both the youth services and the technical and shelving staffs, could be used to facilitate a focus group style discussion with multiple staff members, both to save staff time and to see what new ideas and concerns might come from multiple members of staff in real-time conversation. Because our research question asks about the findability of picture books within the library's current organizational system, we've chosen to do purposive non-probability sampling of current users of the picture book collection at the Grant R. Brimhall Library, interviewing library staff and observing and surveying library patrons who use the picture book section. We feel it is appropriate to use purposive sampling for 3 reasons. Number 1, we, quote, specifically want to limit, end quote, our research to, quote, unique cases, end quote, by which we mean patrons and staff navigating the picture book collection at our Grant Brimhall Library. Number 2, we, quote, want to focus on specific cases for further in-depth examination, end quote, particularly the cases of children navigating the collection. And number 3, our, quote, population members are difficult to reach, end quote, outside their visits to the library. And these are also, when they're at the library, their picture book collection usability experiences are also freshest in their minds. So together, these 3 conditions fulfill all of Lorene Wolfert's requirements for using purposive sampling. So let's see those surveys. Well, there are 5 of them, so they don't all fit on one page. So here's just a taste. Again, we've purposefully designed our survey questions so that we can use them as written or as the basis of a verbal interview for maximum accessibility. Although a majority of the residents of Thousand Oaks speak English as a primary language, Spanish is the next most prevalent language, so we also plan to translate the user experience surveys for caregivers, educators, and kids into Spanish. Our survey for kids is designed to be given verbally so that pre-readers can also participate fully. As for data analysis, we'll both have quantitative and qualitative data. Data from the circulation reports and the in-house use tallies will be analyzed by volume over time to determine if reorganization of the picture book collection has led to higher findability as measured by higher usage rates. Similarly, the results of the user and staff experience survey questions like, quote, "In your experience, how easy is it to find picture books without help from library staff?" with a range of choices, will be analyzed for the different systems tested to determine whether findability increases with reorganization. On the qualitative side, data from the observation performed by library staff and also the open questions in the user and staff experience surveys will be analyzed using constant comparison in an iterative process in recognition that our process will grow and change as patron feedback, our data, and our understanding, our analysis, do. We do expect that many themes will relate to subjects or topics that library patrons search for often. We suggest a deductive approach to coding this data and have prior community of practice examples upon which to draw. While our codes themselves will not directly measure findability, thematic analysis of our results will undoubtedly reveal subjects and topics and other contributing factors to findability that are most vital to our Thousand Oaks library patrons and staff. So here are some of the community practice examples we referenced when developing our project. Almost all of these are live links, and if you'd like to learn more, please check them out. On behalf of our whole project team, thanks for spending this time with us. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out.